Hello and welcome back to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. I am Craig Forrestal, also known as That Sports Guy. Go ahead and find me on Twitter at that_sports_guy. Also find my work on NFLDraftDiamonds.com. NFLDraftDiamonds.com is a proud sponsor of That Sports Guys podcast. NFLDraftDiamonds.com will keep you up to date with the latest happenings in the NFL, CFL, NFL Draft. NFLDraftDiamonds.com. With me today is former Kansas Jayhawk Jock Givens. Go ahead and find Jock on Twitter at KingJock24. Also find his top-notch work with the 5 Reasons Sports Network. So what we got for you today is a little bit of a draft recap. We want to get into some of the teams that we liked and that we didn't like, go over kind of some of the picks outside of the first round that we think have a chance of developing into a real solid piece for those teams. And then we want to leave it off with the Miami Dolphins. They had themselves a haul, and so we want to get into that, talk about the future, the direction that they're headed, and just overall whether we liked it or not. So I'll go ahead. I'll jump in. First team that I really liked off the bat, Jock, with their draft was the Jacksonville Jaguars. I thought that they had a really interesting draft. I felt like they just let the board fall to them, and they addressed needs while also taking the best player available. I was a little shocked, though, with 9 overall when they took C.J. Henderson. I thought that he was probably going to go to where C.D. Lamb went, actually, with the Cowboys. I thought that's where he was going to fall at 17. But he went earlier than I expected. They do need, coverage help. Jalen Ramsey's not there anymore.
Bouye is gone, too.
Yep, he's over there in Denver. But what did you think about the Jacksonville draft class overall?
So I was not shocked by C.J. Henderson going 9 because I think it was a bit of a toss-up with every other guy after. I think that was just based off team, like who cornerback number 3 was. Because some had the guy from TCU, Gladney. Others had Kristen Fulton, who fell tremendously down the board. The Dolphins took Noah, I can't say his last name, from Auburn, which is which is a hyper athletic guy. He's a super athlete. So cornerback number 3 was a toss up. So you have to take the second best corner on the board. I think that's probably was the best pick unless they would have went with the tackle Willis. But I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are pretty happy with the class, and I think more so they're trying to gear up for the 2021 for the offensive guys, because I think they're going to go quarterback and stuff like that in that draft. So I think they want to give Minshew a chance. They still got Fournette there, DJ Chark at receiver. So they actually had a solid draft. So I like what they added. I like C.J. Henderson. I love that pick, actually, because I think he can step in, and that's a good fit for him coverage-wise, and it's not going to be asking him to do too much, like in covering. Like he's going to step right in and be the guy. So they'll be able to see what they got with him early.
Yeah, and then some of the picks outside of the first round for Jacksonville that I liked were 42 overall, Laviska Shenault, wide receiver from Colorado. Go ahead. No.
I like Shenault too. I thought Shenault was going to be a first round guy, actually, because I think the injury hurt him. So I thought Shenault. Go ahead.
And that's the knock on him is the injuries. Like you said, he didn't really get to go through a full workout at the combine, didn't really have a pro day. So teams were left with question marks as to how he really was going to test, because when you see him on film, you're expecting to get freaky test results, but it didn't really come that way early on in the combine before he bowed out with an injury. I like Devon Hamilton at 73 overall, D tackle from Ohio State. I feel like Jacksonville always has big bodies on the D line, trying to fill the void for Malik Jackson. I feel like Devon Hamilton has a shot at doing that. 116 overall, Ben Barch, offensive tackle from St. John's in Minnesota, a D3 school. Everybody loves a good underdog story. I'm no different. He had a really nice showing at Mobile in the Senior Bowl. Put himself on a crazy diet, drank a breakfast shake that seemed absolutely disgusting to gain about 55, 60 pounds. It was like 7 eggs, peanut butter, cottage cheese, Gatorade. It was just all sorts of stuff that he was throwing in there. But hey, it worked. It got him drafted. And then the final pick that I love is at 140 overall, Shaq Quarterman, linebacker from Miami. Started every single game that he dressed for the Hurricanes. One of the most productive linebackers in Hurricane history. So I feel that the Jaguars did themselves a hell of a job at 140 overall with Shaq Quarterman.
The only knock on Quarterman is his ability to play in space. So that's another thing. But as far as his ability, as far as playing linebacker, he's going to be a 2-down guy. But I think it's a great fit for him because they're not going to ask him to cover anybody because they have Miles Jack, who's an ultra-athletic linebacker already. So there's no need for him to be a 3-down backer right now. I think he has to develop his play in space a little bit more because he had some times on film where he looked lost in the open field trying to tackle some of those guys. So I hope he gets better at his angle because I love Shaq Quarterman. He had first-round tape as a freshman. So the ability has always been there.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a question of his natural talent. Like you said, is he going to be able to make up for his lack of athleticism in being able to play in space somehow, some way at the next level? As you said, it has been exposed at the college level before. So maybe a 2-down linebacker is his home. Yeah. Another team whose draft I actually really liked was Buffalo. They didn't have a pick in the first round.
Yeah, but that's Stephon Diggs in reality. So you got Stephon Diggs and
exactly. And as Jock just mentioned, that first round draft pick got sent over to Minnesota for Stephon Diggs. So even though you didn't have a first round pick, you still have Stephon Diggs. So like you said, in reality, your first round pick was Stephon Diggs. Then at 54 overall, AJ Epineza from Iowa. Zach Moss, the running back from Utah at 86, which I thought was an interesting pick. How do you feel about that, Jock? How do you feel that him and Devin Singletary will pair up as a 1-2 punch?
So it's kind of the same style of runner with him and Singletary. I think Singletary more, but I think they brought him in more so because he's going to replace Frank Gore. Obviously, Gore is gonna be out the door, so I think it'll be more of that. So I think they'll make a good punch, but they don't have any speed at running back because Moss is not that fast, and Singletary we know is not that a blazer. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like at running back with the speed, no, it does not. It helps, but it's not that big of a deal if they don't have it.
Absolutely. And then with the next pick, they took Gabriel Davis, wide receiver from UCF. And then at pick 167 overall, I thought this was interesting. Jake Fromm from Georgia. He was still hanging around on the board. Bringing him in as a backup to Josh Allen. They have very different play styles, but how do you think that works and how do you think it plays out for Jake Fromm in Buffalo?
I think Buffalo more so got him to be a development guy. Jake Fromm talent is not the issue. I think his arm strength is. He'll be a solid backup for them if Josh Allen does get hurt and they need a win or two. He'll be able to get a win or two. And I think ultimately you'll see him get traded to a team. I think he'll be like a Matt Flynn story, 5th-round guy, comes in, gets some wins, and then a team takes a flyer on him just to try to like, oh, okay, maybe he can be a starting quarterback in this league. So like go ahead.
That's interesting that you bring up Matt Flynn because I was going to ask you what you thought his career outlook was going to be because I was thinking something more along the lines of Case Keenum, but Matt Flynn's actually really interesting that you bring it up. So do you think he'll be asked to serve as Josh Allen's number 2 and potentially get game reps if he goes down, or do you feel that he's purely just a number 3 or a practice squad?
No. Jake Fromm, I think, made a mistake coming out. I think the moment Tua and Jordan Love all declared he should have stayed in school because he was never going to be that guy. Once they declared he should have stayed, I think the Newman decision probably was in effect in his head, but he should have just stayed. Because he needed another year of development. Because a lot of his problem isn't stuff like that. one thing about Jake Fromm, what you're gonna get a guy who doesn't turn the football over. So he's not a turnover. His anticipation is beautiful. He has great anticipation throwing the rock. So like a lot of his problem is arm strength, which could be improved. He could have become a guy like that, but I think he'll get game reps because I think they'll lean more towards on their defense and running the football if Josh Allen does go down. And I think McDermott will feel more comfortable there than, trying to go out and get another guy who opens up the offense more or something like that. So I think he potentially will get game reps, but it won't be now. It will probably be a year or two because Josh Allen's pretty durable. The only thing I got to ask of Josh Allen, he can't take as many hits as he was taking last season with him running the football. But I will say, if you mix them two together, you'll have the perfect quarterback. His arm strength with Jake Fromm's accuracy and anticipation, boy, that's a hell of a quarterback.
And just going off of that, how you were talking about Jake Fromm, if he went back to school, what else does he have to prove, though? That would be my only question to you with him going back to Georgia. What else is there for him to do on the college level?
So, in my opinion, Fromm is better than Justin Fields. So I think if he stays in school, he could have won a national title. One, because I think Georgia would have been right up there with him. I think he would have won a national title, won the SEC. I mean, so that'd have been two. His stock would have improved. Like, we can't say stocks don't improve because we just watched Joe Burrow go from being a day 3 guy at the beginning of the season to being the first overall pick. So I think his stock would have improved had he went back to school because they would have won a national title because I think Georgia has been knocking on the door for a while. And Jake Fromm hasn't been the reason they've been losing. Like, every time he's left the field, they had the lead to win the game, and his defense gives up a crazy play. You look at a national title game the first year, you see Tua throws a 47-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. Like, every time he's left the field, they've been winning. So I think his stock could have improved, and he could have got better as a player. I mean, another year of college doesn't hurt a guy like that. So, like for instance, a year of college is going to hurt a guy like Travis Etienne because he has nothing to prove. Like, what can he get better at that's going to make you say, he wasn't going to be the first back taken this year?
Do you think he would have been the first back taken this year?
Yes.
Before Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Yes, because Travis Etienne, like, his starting stoppability, I compare it to Saquon Barkley, man. Like, how he gets in and out his cuts and the speed and stuff like that. I think he would have been the number one back because he catches the ball pretty well. I think Clyde Edwards was the number one back because of the system fit for Andy Reid more so than him being the best back on the board.
Okay, and I can go with that. So with Etienne going back to school and him at Clemson, how much do you think that he could hurt himself this season then if you feel like he would have been one of the first backs off the board this year?
So this is football, so injuries happen all the time. What can he do as a running back to say, hey, he got better? Like, what is he going to be able to tell a scout, hey, he got better? Oh, he scored 20 touchdowns. Well, he already done that. Oh, he rushed for 1,500 yards. He already done that. So I think it just hurt him going back to school. I think his coaches should have told him to go in the draft just because it made more sense.
Absolutely. I feel you on that one. And then rounding out that Buffalo draft class, we have Tyler Bass, kicker from Georgia Southern. And then we have two interesting selections after pick 200. Isaiah Hodgins, wide receiver, Oregon State at pick 201. And then pick 239 overall, Pittsburgh cornerback Dane Jackson. Two interesting picks back there, highly productive in college. Isaiah Hodgins has bloodlines. His dad won a Super Bowl with the Rams. So just pretty interesting late-round picks right there, I thought. What about you? What were a couple of classes that caught your eye off the bat?
Well, even though I dislike to say this, the Cowboys had an interesting draft because you got CeeDee Lamb, obviously. That's a top 10 caliber guy at receiver at 17. You take the best pick that they had, though, and he's going to be a contributor day one, is the guy from Utah, Bradley Anayi.
In the fifth
Yes,
round. Yeah, that was a
yes,
steal.
he's gonna be a contributor right away. He has his game is phenomenal. He has good hands off the ball. His leverage is nice. Like so, he's gonna be a contributor for them day one. I like the center from Wisconsin, Tyler. Uh,
By a
yeah,
dash.
but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because he struggled against Ohio State. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he struggled, and you're gonna get a lot of Ohio State guys, type caliber players in the in your what you call it. So I mean in the NFL. So I don't know how he's gonna fare, but he will fit well. I think that's a good fit for him. Zach Martin's an All Pro right guard, so he'll be there to mentor him and help him get better and stuff like that. So I love those three picks off bat, but the CD Lamb will won you over. Like they automatically want to drive. Diggs, I'm a little bit questionable on because Diggs had his film is I don't know, it's conflicting because
Mm-hmm. No, it is. It's up and down. It's
it's
up and down.
conflicting
It's up and
because
down.
he doesn't. I think his problem is though he doesn't have natural cornerback skills sometimes. Like I think some things you'd be like, well, like he's not natural. Like I would love to see the practice film of him at Alabama against those receivers because I really believe if you're a cornerback at Alabama, you wasn't playing no better receivers than those set of guys on Saturday. So I don't feel like you should have been struggling as much as he did. Jamar Chase took him to school. He just like I said, I think he might have a home at safety depending on how he tackles. But I do think that was a good pick for them. And I also like Reggie Robinson the third from Tulsa, man. That's a great.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good cornerback. He was very productive, and I think that's a good pick for him to fit right in there. He's not going to be asked to start right away because they have a Awuzie and they have Anthony Brown too. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see how that fares. And then also, I like what the Jets did. The Jets had a solid draft. The Ravens had a great draft too, but the Jets and the Ravens were two drafts I really like. To get J.K. Dobbins in the second round for the Ravens is a steal. Their late round guy Prochet is a great pickup for them too. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
a contributor right away as well because he's gonna be able to be Lamar Jackson's like safety valve outside of Andrews because teams are gonna double Andrews. And for the Jets, I like the LaMichael Piran pick as well. And then they got Beckton in the round two, which was a great pick for them as well. I think the Jets finally did something right. And the Bryce Hall pick as well can be a great pick, but I think Bryce Hall like was affected by not having a pro day because teams were concerned about his speed at corner.
What I thought was interesting with the Jets was them taking a quarterback in the fourth round, James Morgan from Florida International. We saw when Darnold was out for that handful of weeks that Jets offense, they couldn't put points on the board. Um, so by them going out and getting a backup quarterback, to me, it just made me think that they don't want to repeat those same mistakes by not having someone to move the ball if Darnold goes down. So
He
that was an interesting fit for me, I
Yeah, and
thought.
James Morgan has great arm strength as well. So he's a good player, man. He produced very well at FIU. I think
Mm-hmm.
he actually helped them win, a plethora of games, and he looks pretty good to me. I think he'll be a solid backup. Maybe can become a starter later in his career, depending on how the chips fall. Just to see. But the Jets had a great drive, man, and you got to give props to winners does because they have had poor drives in the past, and you were just like, why would they do that? So that was a good one.
And then an interesting thing with James Morgan, you like to see that he has consistent film because he transferred in as a graduate student from Bowling Green, and then he was recruited to Bowling Green by Dino
Yeah,
Babers, excuse me, who is also the head coach at Eastern Illinois that recruited Jimmy
yeah,
Garoppolo.
and he's at
So,
Syracuse
so,
with the guy as
mm-hmm,
well. I think they got
mm-hmm.
that quarterback. I can't think of his name at the moment, but he has potential to be a NFL quarterback. He was a freshman last year. He didn't get to play because of the other guy Dungy. when he was there, but he
Mm-hmm.
struggled at times this year. So I don't know. Hopefully he improves a little bit more.
Yeah, but Dino Babers has an eye for quarterback talent, so definitely something to keep an eye on there. And then also how you talked about the Baltimore Ravens. I thought the Baltimore Ravens did a great job of just taking what the board gave them, to be cliche about it. You talked about how they got James Prochet later on in the 6th round. In the 7th round, they got Geno Stone, safety from Iowa. But I thought their 3rd round picks were phenomenal. Devin Duvernay, Malik Harrison, and Tyree
Yeah.
Phillips. So I feel like they got
And Queen, we can't leave Queen out there. I think that was the best fit for him because he can do what he do best. A running chase linebacker. They had the big guys up front to go ahead and cover
mm-hmm.
up his because he struggles getting off blocks. But come on, you going to the Ravens where they have Michael Pierce, Big Brandon Williams up front, nose tackles clogging the space, and you also playing with two good other linebackers. And what's my guy name? Not I think his last name Kenny Young, which he flashed last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Mm-hmm. And the, and then the Ravens also added Derek Wolfe from Denver and Calais Campbell from Jacksonville to play D end in that 3-4 scheme. So like you said, adding big bodies all over the defensive line to free up Patrick Queen, let him be an athlete, get sideline to sideline, chase stuff down. Definitely something that you're going to need in that division. Baltimore, they took. I mean, excuse me, Pittsburgh. They took Chase Claypool to put it the opposite side of
Smith.
Juju Smith-Schuster. So Baltimore is definitely going to have to get guys that can play in space. You know what Cleveland has. Cincinnati's following suit by getting Joe Burrow weapons. So I feel like this is, like you said, it's a smart pick given the way that Patrick Queen can play, the way that division is going
Yeah.
offensively.
Also, you got it.
I feel like it was a real solid
Also,
fit.
the we all know the Ravens are gearing up for the Chiefs because they are the only team who can beat them at this point. How they
Mm-hmm.
play football is two contrasting styles, but adding Patrick Queen who can cover the backs and the tight ends out of the backfield and stuff like that, so you'll be able to do a lot with those guys, man.
Mm-hmm. And then rounding out the team's drafts that I liked, I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I actually really liked Seattle's draft. I liked Tampa's draft, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a couple of minutes. But I really liked the Miami Dolphins draft as well. But as far as drafts I didn't like, we can really just focus on the NFC North. I have the Bears and I have the Packers as two drafts that I did not like. What about you? How did you feel about the Bears and or the Packers drafts?
I don't. I mean, for the Packers, I didn't understand what they were going, like what they were doing. Like, I mean, you just came off a draft where, I mean, a season where you finished one game outside of the Super Bowl. So your goal should have been to build up and make sure that that you're gonna get. You didn't get them at. You didn't get Aaron Rodgers, no receivers. Instead, you got a running back that you didn't need because you got two good, solid running backs in Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones, who just led the league in touchdowns last season. Okay, that's one. You draft a quarterback who's not gonna play for the next 3 or 4 years. So I didn't understand that. What was the purpose? Like the only thing they did do is get offensive lineman, which I think can contribute. I like the kid from Michigan, Runyon, that I think he can
Mm-hmm.
contribute. But that was it. The Bears, I don't like they have 10 tight ends on their roster, so trading up trading up for that didn't make any sense. And plus, your quarterbacks already struggle. Your quarterback already struggles. Trubisky struggles. Assuming he's the starter, he struggles already. So I think they should have went and got him a receiver, someone that can help them. But I just didn't understand. And another team that was like, well, I like Seattle's draft because Seattle has been consistent on how they draft anyway. They've drafted the same way for the last 5, 6 years. They taking super athletic guys who they can turn into football players.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. And you see that their first two picks in Jordan Brooks and Darrell Taylor, linebacker from Texas Tech with Brooks, and then Taylor being a DN from Tennessee. Jordan Brooks, a lot of people they criticized the pick, but the theme of linebackers playing in space. He's from the Big 12, Texas Tech. That's what he's asked to do every week is play in space. And now with the way that Arizona's building their roster around Kyler Murray and the weapons they've given him, you're going to be asked to play.
In that division, you got Kittle, you got Kyler Murray to defend, Russell Wilson to defend. Well, he's gonna be practicing again. My bad, but he got Kyler Murray, Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, you got to defend Kittle. Who else in that division? Like the Rams. Look at that. Like that's a scheme that you have to defend in space. So I wasn't mad about that. I think Jordan Brooks is a good linebacker. I mean, today's NFL is not a run-stopping linebacker. We're looking at guys who can play in space and who are basically hybrid safeties, if we're being honest.
Absolutely. It's linebackers that on first and second down can absorb contact, get off blocks, and then on third down can drop into space and make plays in the pass game. Or even on second down, depending on what the situation is, if you're going to be in a sub package on second and third down with sub linebackers and all that sort of thing.
Another team, Giraffe, I didn't like was the Raiders, but they kind of made up for it in day two with kind of the guys they kind of picked. But I didn't like the Ruggs pick because I think that you had two better receivers on the board at the time with Judy and CeeDee Lamb. So I kind of question that. And with Arnett, I don't know. Arnett tape to me, he looked more like a second or third round pick to me. I didn't see the whole first round tape. I mean, a later round guy that I think is going to contribute. I love Akeem Roberson from La Tech. I love the film that he put out. I like Lynn Bowden from Kentucky. I love Brian Edwards' pick because I think they're tough guys, but I think they could have went different with the first two picks in the draft. I think they could have got better offensive line wise, or they had better receivers on board. Jerry Jeudy will help Derek Carr more than a Henry Ruggs because Carr doesn't like to get the ball downfield as much.
Well, let me ask you this, because with the Ruggs pick, I thought about it like this, right? Josh Jacobs ran for over 1,000 yards, but he was running into 8, 9-man boxes all day. With Ruggs' speed, that high 4.28, 4.3 flat, that automatically makes the defenses in the secondary aware of his presence. So isn't that just going to naturally create more of a running lane? Because doesn't Oakland want to work run game to pass game more so?
Yeah. Well, now you put it in that perspective, yes. I love that. But I will say this. The Brian Edwards, the guy from Kentucky Bowden and Ruggs. Now, Ruggs is a great receiver. I think he's a little bit more than than speed than people think. I think he has more to his game than people are giving him credit for. So I don't like that people just deeming him as speed. Well, hell, he played at Alabama with 4 first-round receivers, and he was a starter. So his talent is there. Bowden is going to be more of a gadget guy, but Edwards probably going to be the better receiver right now out of those 3 guys because Edwards can really play.
Yeah, the way I see it is I see them using Ruggs kind of in that old Antonio Brown role. I see them using Edwards in how Tyrell Williams was used last season. And then I see them playing Lynn Bowden in the slot, almost using them as their version of Deebo Samuel.
Gadget guy, give them sweeps, reverses, line them up at quarterback. I just want John Gruden to succeed at because I think he's a good coach. I think he's
I'm a big Gruden and Mayock guy too. I mean, if there's a front office and head coach combination that I'm pulling for more than anyone in the league right now, it's definitely the Raiders. And I mean, is there any more of a place that screams Raiders besides Oakland and Las Vegas?
So.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, no, I'm really interested to see how that all turns out. And then with me, I'm with you. With the Packers, I wasn't really too thrilled with what they did in the first round. Like you said, being a game away, get Aaron Rodgers a playmaker. To me, a lot of their move screams we're more so thinking about, like you said, 3 years from now. And they took Josiah DeGara, the tight end fullback combination hybrid guy from Cincinnati in the third round. I know that Green Bay came out after the pick and said they want to use him kind of like in a Kyle Juszczyk role that San
but
Francisco
that
has
you could have picked that guy
created
in the
out
fourth or
there.
fifth round, man. It's
I was gonna say, but I feel like that's a type of need that you could have filled later on. And yeah, like you said, pick 192, 208, and 209 were all used on O-line help. John Runyon from Michigan, Jake Hansen from Oregon, and Simon
I
Stepaniak
like
from
Hansen from
Indiana.
Oregon though. Oregon the next 2 years got some good offensive line prospects, man, that I think developed well. I think Cristobal has done a great job changing the culture that there from them being more of a finesse team to a tough team. So I think you're gonna see a lot more interior guys come out of Oregon than we have in the past.
And then I want to get your take on pick 242 for the Packers. I know you're a big Canes guy. They took Jonathan Garvin. I feel like he's the ultimate lotto ticket. I feel like if he hits, they got themselves a player, but I feel like it could go either
So
way.
when we was doing covering the draft with 5 Reasons Sports, we had our draft day analyst coverage. So I brought up Garvin and Hill from Miami, both because they're both the same to me. I think, man, if you can get those two guys to play, you got some starters, edge rusher guys who can get sacks and stuff like that. But we'll see. I think Green Bay is a good fit for him because he can learn from Sedarius Smith and Preston Smith and those guys. And Green Bay is a smaller town, so he can just focus on football. I know people don't see that as a big thing, but I think that's a lot of things with a lot of young athletes when you're asking guys to come to Miami as 18-year-old kids to focus and play football. That's a lot.
I was going to say, the people that don't get it, they've never been 18, 19, 20 years old spending a Friday night down in the 305 because it's a totally different environment. It's something that can't be recreated pretty much anywhere. So, no, I get it. From him going from Miami to Green Bay, like you said, it's going to definitely put a limit
Yeah, he's
on
gonna have
off
to
the field
focus on
stuff.
football, and a lot of those guys in Miami are not getting in trouble. But hey, they're not totally focusing on football either. So that's a
Oh no! If you're asking me, am I going to intro philosophy at noon or am I going to the beach at noon? I'm
yeah,
going to the beach. I'm still making it back
yeah,
by 3 for practice. Like I know where I got
yeah.
to be at. But no, I'm with you. So I hear you there. But
What do
with
before we get
that,
into the Dolphins, I do have a question. What do you think about the
all right.
Jameis Winston signing to the Saints?
Um, if I'm being honest, for Jameis's career, it's the best move. If I'm being honest for Jameis and his checkbook, it probably wasn't the best move. I feel like he would have been better off going to a
Well,
place where,
Pittsburgh offered
there's
him a better deal though.
I know, and to me that says that Pittsburgh isn't completely sure how Big Ben's going to come back this year. B, they don't think that he has much more left in the tank, and C, that would have given you the keys to the car of a team that's pretty much never ever in rebuild mode, just always in reload mode. So I feel like Pittsburgh would have been a better situation for him long term, but I feel like we're just talking short term for the next 16 games. I feel like him being able to pick the brain of Drew Brees and Sean Payton and just spend, like I said, 16 games in that locker room, in that facility, and just use it almost as like a redshirt year. He knows he's going to be the 2, possibly even the 3, depending on how they use Taysom Hill now, because they just paid Taysom Hill so much money. I don't know how you can justify not playing him. So it's just a weird situation in the quarterback room in New Orleans. But I feel like just from the standpoint of growing his game from an X's and O's standpoint, I feel like there's no better place for him than Sean Payton
Well,
and Drew
I'm gonna say
Brees.
this though. I think it's a great fit for 2 reasons. One, just for what you just said, like, hey, he's gonna be picking the brains of 2 of the best offensive minds in football. But the real reason why I think it's a great fit for him, because long term, Jameis Winston can be the starter there in New Orleans. He's only 25 years old. Let's not forget that he's 25. Uh, yes, he threw 30 interceptions last year, but he also threw a lot of touchdown passes. And I think that his game would be more suited for that system than with Bruce Arians, because Bruce Arians is pushing the ball downfield, and that's putting a lot of pressure on guys to make decisions. Like he's gonna take more risks because he has a 6'5" receiver out there, Mike Evans, got Godwin. I think in New Orleans long term, they're more set up to win than Tampa Bay is long term. So I think it was a good fit for him ultimately, just being smart and leaving it all on the table. Why not? You can replace Teddy Bridgewater because he's a better quarterback than Taysom Hill.
Oh,
I don't care
absolutely.
what nobody says. So that's my feeling on that. I do want to see Cam Newton get signed next, though.
See, I think Newton's going to end up in New England. I think what they're waiting for is I think Cam's waiting for Belichick to make all his roster moves. I think he's waiting for him to sign whoever, that veteran free agent or D lineman or whatever it is off the street. And I think Cam's going to be the last one on the ship. That way, if it's, hey, I got to play on a 1 year, $4.5 million base deal, well, then so be it. Uh, I think Belichick and Cam both have a lot to prove this upcoming season. Belichick to prove he can win
Well, Belichick
without
already proved
Brady,
that, man. He
and
went 10. He went 11-5 with Matt Castle, or 10-6 one of them. So
how long ago
it
was
still
that?
don't matter, man. That defense is still gonna be good. So, and plus the division, like I said, the division is gonna be okay. Like no matter what people say, the Dolphins are gonna win. 5 to 6 games. I don't see them winning more than that. I don't think teams are gonna come out like last year where they were just taking them lightly and not taking them serious. No, they're gonna come out and play the Dolphins hard now. So I got in an argument on Twitter just the other day about the wins that the Dolphins have, and I was looking at their schedule. We play the AFC West, play the NFC West. So right there, do you see them beating Patrick Mahomes? Do you see them beating the Los Angeles Rams? Do you see them beating they're winnable games?
The Rams, yeah,
Yeah,
the
but their
Rams, yeah.
winnable games next season is the Patriots twice, and that's a wild card because we don't know what they're gonna be. They play
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati. That's a winnable game. Uh, who else? Cincinnati is a winnable game. The Jets are a winnable game, depending on what version of Adam Gase coaches this season. So, like looking at that, the Chargers, depending on how Tyrod Taylor is playing quarterback at the time, uh, it depends. The Raiders will be a winnable game. But I only see them winning 5 or 6 games next year. A lot of people got the 7 or 8 mark. I don't see that.
See, I think the Dolphins. I think they could. I think they could flirt with an 8-8 type of team. I mean, you kind of just look at what Flores is doing. Well, so here, I'll bring it to you from how I see it. Right, like Eric Flowers. Eric Flowers isn't good, like by
No,
any
no, no.
stretch of the
He's good
imagination.
at guard.
But
He's not good at tackle.
I was gonna say, but when you play him inside, he's more than serviceable and he gets the job done. So I feel like he's going to be your starting right guard, and I feel like at right tackle is going to be Robert Hunt, who you took 39 overall. Austin Jackson's going to be on that left side, and then you're going to have Dieter playing left guard. I think it's going to be a super young
Well,
O
you still
line, and
got
then
him and Solomon Kennedy that can be up there at left guard as well. So I think they're gonna battle.
mm-hmm,
You got Ted Karras at center. So, I
mm-hmm,
think the
mm-hmm.
Dolphins' offensive line is gonna be serviceable. But let's we're gonna hop into that draft that you were talking about earlier that you introduced. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I loved what the
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins did in the draft. I think they identified their problems with the trenches. So they're basically telling teams they're not going to be soft anymore. Um, Obviously, I love to pick at Tua at 5. But my two biggest picks that I like the most is Brandon Jones at safety, and, and I love Raekwon
Mm-hmm.
Davis because Davis had first round film. People had him going in the top 10, 2 years back. So you getting a guy that can be a very disruptive player at the second round. I mean, with that pick. So
And speaking of disruptive, I thought at pick 164, Curtis Weaver from Boise State. I thought that I couldn't believe that he was still hanging around at that point. I thought that he was second round good. The one thing with Curtis Weaver is he was the only player in the NFL draft this year that had 3 seasons of 9 or more sacks. And if there's one thing that translates, and it was said a couple of times this weekend too, look at sack production. Sack production translates into the NFL. So I feel like they were able to find something that's going to give them a little bit of help in that pass rush game, whether it's immediately day one or maybe in a year or two. But when you look at the other stuff that they've done with bringing in Shaq Lawson, Emmanuel Ogba, Kyle Van Noy, it really looks like Flores he's building the Patriots down here. I mean, he started off as a scout for the Patriots, and then he transitioned into coaching as a defensive assistant and grew from there. So I mean, he learned from Belichick what to look for in the players, and then once he learned that and figured it out, he was then brought over to the coaching side where Belichick said, "This is how we use the players that we find." So he got it from both ends. So if there's anyone from the Belichick coaching tree that can make this thing work, I feel like it's Flores. But just to go down the Dolphins draft, just real quick, I'll read you the picks overall. Just to remind everyone, they took Tua Tagovailoa,
best quarterback in the
Alabama at
draft,
5.
by the way.
Austin Jackson, 18, O-tackle, Southern Cal. At 30 overall is Noah Igbenoganye, DB from Auburn. 39, Robert Hunt, offensive tackle, Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns. 56 overall, Raekwon Davis, D-line, Alabama. Pick 70, Brandon Jones, safety from Texas. Solomon Kinley, offensive guard, South Carolina at 111. And then North Carolina DN, Jason Strobridge at 154. We touched on pick 164, Curtis Weaver from Boise State. And then rounding it out, pick 185, Blake Ferguson, Louisiana State long snapper. And then a personal favorite of mine, former Navy quarterback, selected as a wide receiver at pick 246, Malcolm Perry. So, Jock, I'll turn it over to you. What do you like about the class? What do you not like about the class? What do you wish it would have been different? What did they get right?
So let's be first they got what the offensive line right. Austin Jackson is, people only forget he's only 20 years old, so that's a potential pick.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Hunt is a great football player. I know a lot of people might not know a lot about him, but he has right tackle and right guard potential. If he does not work.
Yep.
I like the guy from NC State. I mean, not NC State, North Carolina, Stonebridge, because I think he had a pretty good game against UM when I first noticed him flashing.
Mm-hmm.
Tua was the best. Tua was a great pick. At 30, I don't know. We'll see what the other guy Noah is, because he's hyper athletic. So you can't ever go wrong with a hyper athletic DB. He's only been playing DB 2 years though. He was at receiver in the beginning. So,
and the reason as to why he switched to DB is on his career at DB 2 seasons for Auburn, he had 1 interception, but he broke up 18 passes, so he just can't catch. But now, look, I know you said that he's super athletic, but let me just ask you, just on the surface, how he looks athletically when you say it out loud. If I told you at pick 30, you could draft a cornerback that could come in and be your nickel immediately, that's 5'10", 198 pounds, runs 4.4 with a 40-inch vertical, and both of his parents were Olympians for Nigeria, would you say yes? Because sometimes you get one parent that's an Olympic athlete or former ball player, but now we got two. We got 2 Olympic parent athletes.
Yeah, so, like I said, that when you draft in the corner, you have to take a chance on a super athletic guy at corner because you can't teach certain things athleticism wise at corner. So I like it, and like I said, in 2 years, he's only been playing corner 2 years. 18 pass breakups. He can't really catch the football like that. Obviously, that's why he moved. But hey, I think he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's physical as well to be in there. But I think it was a solid pick. I think the Dolphins overall probably had a top 5 giraffe in the NFL. To be honest, like out of everything they've done, they didn't get the flash picks. I would have liked to. I would have liked to see them draft a receiver. But I do like the guy they signed, Chris Merritt from yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Kurt Murray
I
from
like
Forrestal
that
State.
signing
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I think from watching this film, he looks like a good receiver to me. And they hit on last year in the undrafted class with Preston Williams. So
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, they hit with Preston Williams last year, so maybe they can do it again this year with Kirk Merritt. But for me, I thought Brandon Jones, he's just a solid playmaker. Um, I don't really think that he's going to wow a lot of people, especially physically. He's one of those guys where, like, if you start paying attention to the Texas film defensively, you start to notice whenever there's a turnover, it seems like either Brandon Jones is recovering the fumble, he forced the fumble, or like he's right around there, has his head around there, making the play. He's always around the ball. And I think NFL teams view things a little bit differently than how the Twitter GMs view things. Like, because when you think about the defense that Miami's trying to create down here, right? It's built a lot on skill set. And when you think about that New England Patriots defense, it's opportunistic. Like, they don't really let a whole lot of, opportunities pass them by. So if you're going to make a mistake, they're going to make you pay for it. So I feel like that is something that helps Brandon Davis with the addition here
yeah, I would
in
have
the
liked to
defensive
see them
backfield.
get McKinney though earlier. Obviously, running back would have been something I would have liked. But I mean, to get Matt Breida, who's a great back, he's more what the Dolphins needed, an explosive back. I think he lost favor in San Francisco, obviously, because Morris and you have Tevin Coleman. They still got Jeremiah McKinney, who people have yet to see play. So that was a good pick. I think the Dolphins just overall had a great draft. Like I said, would have liked to see them get McKinney. Obviously, I'd have loved to see CeeDee Lamb fall to them at 18 because I think they would have took him. I know they would have took
Mm-hmm.
it. They would have took
Oh
him
yeah, absolutely. Oh
because I
yeah,
think they would have still
absolutely.
ended up with the guys that they had. I think they would have been able to get Jackson at 20 at 26 and the corner at 30.
So then, do you think that they wouldn't have made that trade then from
No,
26 to 30 with
they would
Green
have
Bay?
they would have not traded. They probably would have took Jackson. So I'm not upset about that, but I mean the chips fell for the Dolphins. Everything worked out for the Dolphins because they literally didn't have to do nothing and still got the draft they wanted. They made they made the trades. They
Oh
made
no,
the trades they
I,
wanted to make. They didn't make no trades that they didn't need to make. All this old tour, they might have to trade up to 3 and all that. They didn't even have to do that. So whenever you're able to do that, man, that's a great draft for you. Where you lose no draft capital and think about the next 2 years, where you have 2 first round picks and 2 second round picks. Houston, we don't know what the hell they're gonna be, but um, they can be all right. Or you never know, depending on injury, because Watson is injury prone. So you know, we'll see. But the Dolphins next year can go ahead and get the receivers and everything they need next season, and that's being honest.
oh yeah, and I mean, right now I just pulled up the Dolphins roster as of yesterday, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of change. It's not going to look like what it did last year. I mean, and also two. And speaking of the Flores and Belichick connection, Tyshawn
Oh
Render from Middle
yeah,
Tennessee
when
State. There
Belichick went
was
in the rain with it.
he yep. When Belichick skipped part of the combine in Indianapolis and went to Tyshawn Render's workout on the campus of Middle Tennessee State in the rain. So it makes you wonder how much of a relationship do these two really have, because the way that he picked when you look at what he started doing in the defensive backfield with pass rushers, with just how everything fits a certain hole, it's very Belichick like. I absolutely love it. um, I'll be honest, Tua at 5 was not what I wanted to see initially. I wanted to see an O line help because I was all for Ride Fitz Magic for another 16, and then hopefully you land yourself in a top 1, 2, 3 situation where you put yourself
I
in the ball
think
game for Trevor
this is
Lawrence.
going to be an
Um,
unpopular opinion, but I think Tua is a better quarterback than Lawrence.
and I was going to say, but then as I saw the rest of the draft unfold, and as I saw once they got Austin Jackson, I'm a huge Austin Jackson fan and believer. Like
And he
you said,
didn't.
he's 20
And
years old.
adding on that, he did not have an off season last year because he was fighting for his sister. He was donating bone marrow. So that's kudos to that kid, man. That's an
Mm-hmm.
inspirational story for him, man.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at him size wise, I mean, he's pretty much got ideal size. He came in just under 6'5" at the NFL Combine at 6'4" and 7/8. He was 322 pounds. He came in with a 507 40. Three cone was 795, 31-inch vertical. Bench press was at 27 reps. So he matched strength with speed and showed enough versatility and athleticism, to
Yeah.
warrant himself as the 18th overall pick. And when you think about the last time USC had a 20-year-old left tackle that was super athletic drafted, it
Yeah.
was Tyron
And
Smith to the Dallas
and
Cowboys.
another
And
thing people
uh,
gotta put
mhm.
in factor. The Patriots have never had a elite offensive line. It's never. You never
Mm-mm.
seen no offensive line, but the guys just produced in how the system is. Quick, get the ball out, bam, let's go, let's go, dink and dunk down the field. So that's what, like, if the Dolphins are trying to build that, then the offensive line just needs to be good, not great.
Exactly. And to your point, how many times have we seen someone in New England? I guess most recent example would be Nate Solder to the Giants, where they looked like one guy in New England.
Yeah,
They get to their new place, they look like a totally different guy. So, and that's the case with a lot of people up and down that New England roster over time. But I'm with you. If the Dolphins can create a solid O line around Tua, I mean, the combination of Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, I thought that they were going to
I
address running
mean
back in the draft, but I'm not gonna complain about that combination. It's
that,
actually
and
a
on
pretty
top of
interesting
that, I mean you got
combination.
to look at next year's draft class with the backs and the receivers. So I think this year was most
Mm-hmm.
focused on get two of the road raiders he need. I will say this: if the Dolphins do end up in a pick next year, where they have to pick a offensive tackle, they probably will take that kid from Oregon. I can't. Yeah, because he's actually a
Panay
legit
Sewell.
tackle. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
so
no, he's for real.
I would
Mm-hmm.
see them taking him, and Austin Jackson and all those guys can move to guard, tackle. Like you can have your offensive line set.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be shocked there, but I think the Dolphins next year, if they're picking in the top 10, with their pick, Houston in the top 15, you will see Jamar Chase. You'll see a receiver or two, and from some people are saying next year's class may be better than this year's class. That's to be determined. But hey, man, the Dolphins did the right thing. Let's address the trenches first. Let's get people out of the theory of saying we're a soft team, and then let's go on to the next phase of football, which is the skill position.
And I think you said the right thing right there. A physical team. They actually have an identity. It seems like they're creating an identity, and they have a way that they're going. And I don't know when the last time you could say that about a Miami
So,
Dolphins team, because it might go back to the Marino days. I mean, because since Marino's been gone, it's been rough. But the one thing I do look forward to with the Dolphins is how you said Raekwon Davis. I want to see how Raekwon Davis fits in on that D line early on, especially with Christian Wilkins, because I feel like being able to put some more bodies up on that D line with a run stopping presence and a run stopping game like Raekwon Davis is going to help Christian Wilkins. I feel like Christian Wilkins can't be the guy on a D line. I feel like he's a really solid, like, 1B. I feel like he needs someone else to be a 1A, or he needs someone else to kind of help isolate him a little bit more and create one-on-one opportunities for him against
I
offensive
agree
linemen.
with
How do you
you.
feel
And
about
him
that?
and I think Davis is probably going to get Godchild to probably be traded, or I don't think they're going to resign him at this point. So I think you have a better fit with Davis than Godchild right at this point, because Godchild is a little bit on and off. He flashes, he doesn't flash. So
And then I know we didn't talk about it initially, but I want to go ahead. I want to ask you, Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia. I like the
in
pick.
what sense though? What sense do you like the pick? Do you like the pick because it's Hurts, or do you like the pick because they made like? I don't see that Philly didn't need to go there, because I think Hurts would have still been available later on as well. So I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's gonna turn into a Prescott. But then again, you know what? Carson Wentz hasn't been healthy, so you never know.
And you just kind of went where I was going to go. I like it because Carson Wentz has been hurt basically always since he's come into the league. There's always been something going on around him that's forced him to miss some sort of time. Even in the playoff game last year, they got down to Josh McCown. So I feel like you need to have a more solid, or at least a more athletic option than a 40-year-old backup quarterback. Now, Jalen Hurts, to me, like you said, Dak Prescott, I feel like that is a pretty decent comparison, because how I feel his game evolving is something along those lines. I feel like he can be an above average, pretty reliable starter in this league. And I feel Dak Prescott fits that pretty good starter in this league. And he's better than, I'm not saying that he's a top 3, 4, 5 quarterback, but Dak Prescott's definitely better than half the guys that are going. So where you rank him in that top half of quarterbacks is on you. And I feel like that's what Jalen Hurts could end up being, is a top 10, top 15 quarterback in this league. And I think initially what they're going to do is they're going to start him off with a super sophisticated Wildcat package, letting him run, letting him throw, different things like that. But the other thing is, I think they're going to go to a 2-quarterback system. I think you're going to see some sort of situation where Hurts and Wentz are both in the backfield, and they're going to run like a sweep with Hurts, and it's going to literally just be option pass. Like, defense comes up, I'm throwing it topside to Jalen Rieger downfield, or whatever it's going to be. I feel like Doug Peterson thinks he's more creative than he is. I feel like he thinks that he's the smartest guy in the
I mean,
room, and he
he's
can
coming
out
from
X and
Andy
O
Reid
everyone.
though, so
And but I don't really necessarily know that Doug Peterson is as creative as he thinks he is offensively. Now, that's just me. Part of it could be this last season, how he was hand-tied with everyone and their brother being hurt. So maybe it really limited to what he could roll out every week, and my criticism isn't fair right now. But he is creative either way, whether he's more creative or less creative than what he thinks he is. But yeah, no, I like the Hurts pick because Wentz is always hurt. There's going to be ways that they're going to involve him into the game. He's going to find ways to make an impact early on. And I get it. Wentz is making $30-something million right now. But in 2-3 years, when that thing's up and you don't want to bring him back, now you got something that's already there in place. It's already been in the building. And maybe Philadelphia puts a little bit more emphasis on their ability to developed quarterbacks, given Nick Foles in that playoff run a couple of years back. But I just like it for the quarterback development, the way that they're going to
he
use
also
him,
can be
the
used as
fact
a
that Wentz
trade
is always
chip too to
hurt.
get a better player and a better pick. So,
Oh, absolutely. There might be something that comes up next year where, who knows? Big Ben retires, Pittsburgh's stuck, they got nothing. Now all of a sudden Tomlin trades a 2 for Hurts or whatever it might be. But yeah, no, you're right. So that's where I am with the
yeah,
Hurts
I
thing.
love
I
I
like it.
love Jalen Hurts, man. I think he's a winner. So I agree with it. I just thought they could have waited.
And then what was that one mid-round pick that you saw that was made where you said, I think this guy could contribute almost immediately, start day one? Because for me, it was Michael Walker, linebacker from Fresno State to the Atlanta Falcons. That defense is not good at all. They've had injury problems at linebacker. He's athletic. He fits what they like. I feel that he could come into a really bad defense. He could compete for snaps and turn some heads and possibly end up starting this year. What about you?
Mid
Who's that
round guy.
mid-round guy for you?
Uh, DJ Dallas for the Seahawks.
Yeah, no, like you said, the Seahawks are consistent with how they draft. Sometimes a team drafts a quarterback every year, but it seems like the Seahawks draft a running back every year. And I'm big on DJ Dallas, but I know you like him more
Well, the
than I
reason
do,
why
so
I
I'll
say
let
he
you
can be
take
a
over with
contributor
that.
for the Seahawks is two things. Carson is always hurt. He's been hurt forever. But I just think he does more than that meets the eye. He's going to be a tough runner in the inside for you. He's going to get the tough yards, but he can be a starter for you, a complete back. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. And let's be honest, he was the heart and soul of that Miami team this past season, even when they were struggling. So he made plays, i.e., against Florida to begin the year. You see him make big runs and big plays. So I just think
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna fit well with Russell Wilson. Just off of the strength of him being a great football player. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's a really nice sleeper pick. Like you said, he can do a little bit of everything. He's really good in pass protection coming in immediately, so a little bit less of a learning curve than with some other rookie backs. And like you said, you watch that Hurricane game film. It doesn't matter if it was early on in the season against Florida where they were playing strong, or when they got into the later part of the season where they had some of their low points. DJ Dallas came to play every week, strapped it on, and made the most out of whatever the situation was in front of him on the given week. So no, I'm with you. DJ Dallas is a lot better than that draft slot
DJ.
says. And that is going to wrap it up for us today with another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. For Jock Givens, I am Craig Forrestal, and until next time,